Hello, my name is Michelle Goosetree, and I teach at Nashville High School. And I'm here today to walk you through the Chromebook rules and regulations. Just to start off with, Chromebook insurance is something that is offered. It is optional but recommended. The premium is $20 per school year, and we ask that insurance premiums be paid within the first 2 weeks of receiving the Chromebook. The deductible payments would be something that would be requested if there is something significant where your student's computer has to be sent back to the manufacturer, or something significant like a motherboard needs to be replaced. And as you can see, the deductible payments for the first are $5, and then they increase significantly beyond there. It is your student's responsibility to take care of this Chromebook. They will have this same Chromebook for the duration of their time at NCHS. And so we want to make sure that they're getting the most out of their Chromebook. Students will be given some guidelines about NCHS expectations of the use and care of their Chromebooks, but it's good for you also to reinforce that it's their responsibility. If your student has a problem with his or her Chromebook, some technical problems, which could happen because, as we know, sometimes technology fails, they need to go to the Media Center. This blue desk here is also known as the help desk. And so they will take their Chromebook to the help desk, fill out a work order, and then the problem will hopefully be resolved as quickly as possible. If there's something wrong with your Chromebook, your student's not going to get in trouble. As I said, and as you know, technology sometimes fails. So please encourage them to take action on getting their Chromebooks fixed as soon as possible. If a repair has to be made or any maintenance needs to be done to your student's Chromebook, that has to be performed at NCHS. Paul Welty, who is our technology coordinator, also teaches a class and teaches students how to work on the repair and maintenance of these devices. So all of that has to be done at NCHS. If you take it elsewhere and you have insurance, your insurance claims that happen after that will be void. There are some easy ways to avoid basic maintenance repair. Not eating or drinking around your device, not storing it near your pets. As a cat owner, I know that cats like to knock things off of tables or push things off of tables or just seek the warmth of your keyboard. No writing or drawing on your device. Sometimes I've seen students try to trace on the screen with a piece of paper and a picture behind it. Don't do that. That can crack your screen. And try to avoid putting any heavy objects on the device. Some general precautions that we also ask students to take is to make sure that they're paying attention to the location of their Chromebook when they're charging it. So you want to have your device as close to the power source as possible to avoid a human being from getting hurt or your Chromebook from being knocked off a desk. If your student's going to be plugging things in, removable devices in, other than their charging cable, maybe for headphones, maybe they have a wireless mouse and they're going to plug that portion of the wireless mouse in. Everything needs to be inserted carefully because those ports can be damaged and can fail if we're not inserting things correctly and carefully. We ask that students charge their Chromebooks every night. Now, we know sometimes we forget to charge, or maybe the power is out. So we do have some charging stations at the high school that are available. It is a first come, first serve basis. So if you know you are going to have to charge that Chromebook first thing in the morning, the Media Center opens at 7:45. Students can charge before school, during their Media Center time, PE, lunch, but we do really encourage students to charge overnight because pretty much every teacher is going to be using this on a daily basis. Your student's going to get a protective case for his or her Chromebook, and we ask that you not put the cases in your backpack. And we'll talk about cracked screens in a little bit, but that's a lot of weight to put on your Chromebook. And so we want to keep as much weight off of that as possible. We also ask students to use their cases anytime they're moving their device around. So if they're moving from room to room at home, it's safer to have it in a case in case you fall down or trip or drop it. And then whenever it's not in use. Now, the cases do protect from damage, but they're not guaranteed to prevent damage. So we ask again to remind your students to take care of their device. Each bag is going to have something called an asset tag, and they look like this image right here where it says Nashville High School. Each one has a barcode, so this is how students will be checked in and checked out. These barcodes also relate to other things your students may be checking in and out in the media center. Your student's name will also be on the asset tag, which is very helpful when we have a large group of students in one place, say the cafeteria or a student assembly or in PE, and it makes it easier to identify whose Chromebook bag is whose. So it's very important to keep those asset tags on the bags and not to modify them in any way. So the Chromebook that your student is going to be assigned is the Chromebook that they're going to get for their duration at NCHS. So you want to make sure that you take good care of said Chromebook. So when we carry Chromebooks around, and I know it's difficult for me as well because many times I'm moving around the classroom holding my Chromebook, helping students, it's important not to lift Chromebooks by the screen. That can cause damage for your screen being detached from your keyboard or even cracked. And to not carry our Chromebooks with open screens. We can trip, fall, drop the Chromebook. So the screen issues are the number one repair issues that Mr. Welty sees. And he does have some advice that he would like us to share to prevent screen damage. Don't put heavy objects on top of our devices. Don't store them with the screen open. Don't use any cleaning solvents or liquids, and I'll talk a little bit more about how to clean your Chromebook screen in a minute. And then no extra objects in the protective case. There are pockets in your Chromebook case. And we'll be talking to your students about our expectations of what they keep in there. But the more stuff they put in there, the more weight that puts on the Chromebook, and it can crack, cause the screen to crack. Also, we want to make sure that students aren't putting any pens or pencils or even paper between the keyboard and the screen. So sometimes if they're working in class, they may be writing things and referring back to their Chromebook. It's easy sometimes to set that pen or pencil on the keyboard to make sure it doesn't roll off the desk and then kind of forget that it's there when we're hurrying to close our stuff up. So just to make sure we're getting in the habit of not putting anything on our keyboard. If you need to clean the screen, use those soft, dry microfiber cloths, anti-static cloths. If you wear glasses, those cleaning cloths are great examples of what is appropriate to use on the screens. And then, when in doubt, see Mr. Welty or the help desk in the media center. If you don't have access to any of that, they do. We've got some tips for successful daily use. I cannot stress enough as a teacher how important it is to charge your device each night. I tell students if you can remember to charge your cell phone, you can remember to charge your device. Plug it in at the same time. Your student may need to be reminded for the first week or so of school until they get in the habit of doing that. It's important that your student bring their device to all classes. As I said before, most teachers use these Chromebooks on a daily basis. It might be for the whole hour, it might just be for 5 minutes, but it's important to have them and be prepared. We also ask that students leave chargers at home. We have charging stations at Nashville High School if they forget to charge their Chromebook. So the less in their bags, their Chromebook bags, the better. If your student forgets their device at home, which happens, students can check out a loaner from the help desk, and the loaner agreement is the same agreement as having their regular Chromebook. So they're responsible for any damage that might happen to that loaner or if they lose the loaner. So the help desk will keep a record of how many times a loaner is given out to a student. And, we want our students to be responsible for having their Chromebooks. So if there is a repetitive loaner request, a student will get a disciplinary referral after the third time per semester. So we want to make sure that they're being responsible. As far as turning in these loaners, they need to turn in the loaner to the Media Center help desk by 3:20 on the day that they checked it out. So that's 10 minutes after school is over. So if your student is riding a bus and they are worried that they're going to miss the bus because they have to turn the loaner in, please encourage them to talk to their seventh hour teacher and ask to leave a minute or two early so that they can accomplish that. Teachers are going to accommodate them if they communicate. If you don't turn it in by 3:20 that day, there are disciplinary consequences. So we want to make sure that we get those loaners turned back in. If there's something wrong with your computer and the help desk needs to keep it for a couple of days, your student will get a loaner. So students can take those devices in that case. They can take those devices home, use them as they would use their regular Chromebook. And then when it's time to get their original Chromebook back, the Media Center will call them in, and that exchange of devices will be made at that time. Your student can add their own personal touches to the Chromebook, put all kinds of backgrounds and themes that they may like. However, if there are inappropriate images on their screens, there can be some disciplinary action. So it does the handbook guidelines do apply here as far as things that may be inappropriate media. Headphones. I think if you look online at the school supply list, most teachers are requiring headphones. I require headphones in my classroom. So it's important for a student to provide their headphones. Sharing headphones can be a problem for sanitary reasons. Your student in their Chromebook bag has enough room for earbuds, also for those collapsible types of headphones. So it's important to have those. If your student forgets headphones or maybe they're broken for some reason, we do have headphones that can be purchased in the Media Center for $1. And we're going to be doing a lot of content sharing on our Chromebook. So I think it's important to tell you up front that students are going to be sharing the work that they're doing with teachers. And sometimes they'll be working in groups. And so they'll be sharing the work that they're doing with peers. So a lot of what we're doing is in the cloud, wherever that is. Sometimes students will be required to print things. They can print in the Media Center, and they won't print directly from their Chromebooks, from a classroom, or from the Media Center. We have desktop computers that we use for that, or students can share with Miss White in the Media Center, and that can be printed from there. So that doesn't cost a student anything. If they do figure out how to do some printing from their Chromebooks, there can be disciplinary action taken at that time. When your student gets his or her Chromebook, they will then be issued a Gmail account. And so if your student already has a gmail.com account, this will be different. So this is a separate account. It's important not to share those passwords unless a teacher or an administrator requests those. Now, sometimes during the first week of school, students are nervous and they forget things. We can access those passwords if they forget until they get used to logging in. But on average, students are pretty savvy at that. So we are what we would call a Google school in that we usually use Google Apps for education. So Google Docs, which is the same as using Word, spreadsheets, Google Slides, drawings, forms, and much more. But by using those Google apps, we're allowed to share with students and work collaboratively. Students can work collaboratively with other students. And that's the advantage of being able to do that. We can give feedback. They can respond also. As far as the work that they're doing, if they're doing it in those cloud-based applications, they're not going to lose it. It's going to save, and they can access that anywhere. If they are working at home and the internet goes down, or you don't have access to internet, or your internet access is kind of spotty, they can access much of this work if it is in one of these Google products without an internet connection. Um, Otherwise, in order for things to continue to save and to connect, they will need an internet connection. They can also, and they probably will, be saving things to their personal devices, images maybe, or PDF files. Those will be stored on the Chromebook hard drive. Those are things that we may not be able to get back if something happens to the Chromebook. And we kind of say we're not responsible for the loss of that work. So it's important for students whenever they are downloading things to perhaps download things to their Google Drive instead of on the hard drive. Teachers use monitoring software. School administrators use monitoring software, and we do this to view your students' activity in the classroom to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing and staying on task. But then also from an administrator's perspective to make sure that there isn't anything inappropriate that is happening. And we use a content filter at Nashville High School. And this is something that is required by law, that we actually monitor through the Children's Internet Protection Act to make sure that nothing inappropriate is happening between users of documents, through email, etc. So students, knowing that, should not expect that what they're doing on their Chromebook will be private. The monitoring software that the administration uses is a little bit different than what some teachers use in the classroom. And so sometimes things are being filtered, certain words are being filtered, links can be filtered. And so they need to really think about what we would call their digital footprint and what they're doing digitally, and how that might negatively impact them if it's not appropriate. As far as Wi-Fi, I kind of hinted at this a little bit ago, but Wi-Fi is required for the majority of your Chromebook use. We do have some apps that we use on our Chromebooks that don't require the internet. My biggest request from a teacher's perspective is if you don't have internet, or sometimes your internet is unpredictable, please encourage your student to talk to his or her teacher. We understand that this is an issue sometimes, and we'll work with your student. But if we don't know, then we can't make adjustments or adaptations. So it's something that's important that either your student or you communicate with the teachers. One thing that teachers are going to be teaching your student throughout these years at NCHS is the importance of digital citizenship, the ability to respect yourself and protect yourself online, as well as respecting and protecting others. And we'll also be teaching your student about intellectual property, the importance of protecting their own intellectual property, but also giving credit when they use someone else's. Our Chromebooks use the current version of Chrome OS, which is supported by the district. So nothing else should be installed. No other operating system should be installed. And the Chrome OS will update and either automatically, or we can encourage students when we know there's an update for your students to update their Chromebooks. They also don't need to put any additional virus protection on there. We have a filter that includes virus protection, so that is taken care of. So please do not add any of that onto your Chromebook. That is a very quick introduction to the Chromebook rules and regulations. If you have additional questions or there's something that I wasn't clear on, please contact our principal, Mark Bagando, and you can see his email address right here. Pause the video if you would like to write that down. And now we're going to ask that you click the link in the description below, and we want you to access the Chromebook survey, and I included a little picture of what it will look like when it pops up so you know you're in the right spot. This is going to be proof or record of the fact that you went through this information, and it's going to allow your student to be able to get his or her Chromebook without having to sit through a live presentation of this information. Thanks for watching.